Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going to break down something that sent some real shockwaves across the continent. Why one of Africa's most prominent leaders, Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, threw her unapologetic support behind the new, unelected leadership in Burkina Faso.
All right, so let's just jump right into it. This is the big question, right? The one that started a huge debate. Why on earth would a major political figure with her kind of resume engage with a government that took power through a coup? As we're about to see, her answer? Well, it challenges a lot of what we think we know.
Okay, so to really get what she was thinking, you first have to understand who we're talking about and the political firestorm she basically walked right into.
Look, we're not talking about just any politician here. Dlamini-Zuma is an absolute heavyweight. She's a veteran of the anti-apartheid struggle, she's held some of the biggest cabinet positions in South Africa, and hey, she even chaired the entire African Union. Her experience is just immense, which makes everything she does and says carry that much more weight.
And you know what? She didn't shy away from it. She faced the criticism head on. As soon as she got back home to South Africa, the questions started flying. The accusation was pretty straightforward. You're giving legitimacy to an illegal power grab. But her answer? It was anything but straightforward.
And this is where it gets really interesting. This is her core justification. Because here's where she totally pivots. This isn't just about defending one trip anymore. It's about laying out a whole new philosophy for what good governance should even mean for Africa.
Yeah, she does not mince words. Right away, she reframes the whole thing. Her critics are calling it a coup. She calls it a revolution. And notice that key word she uses, progressive. That one word completely changes the story she's telling.
So to really grasp what she means by progressive revolution, you gotta look back at history. See, this isn't just some random political phrase she's throwing around. She is deliberately connecting the leaders there today to the legacy of one of Africa's most legendary figures, Thomas Sankara.
So for her, when she talks about the spirit of Sankara, she's talking about these specific things: empowering women, building a united African continent, and maybe most important of all, making sure that African countries can feed their own people. This is the standard she's using to measure them.
And this, right here, is the heart of her argument. She's basically throwing out the whole Western rulebook that says governance is all about elections. For her, the real test is the result. Are you actually responding to what your people need? Are you using your country's money for your own people? If you can say yes to that, well, that's good governance, no matter how you got there.
But this radical idea about what good governance actually is, it's just one piece of a much bigger puzzle she's laying out, a diagnosis for what's really holding Africa back.
And to make this point, she brings in the words of another giant of the anti-apartheid struggle, Steve Biko. What's she saying? The biggest prison isn't made of bricks and bars. It's mental. It's his mindset of dependency, this feeling that you can't do it yourself, that's been drilled in for generations.
Just think about this number for a second. 60%. That's a huge number, right? Well, that's how much of the world's available farmable land is right here on the African continent, just sitting there, an incredible resource. And yet, here's the crazy part. This is the paradox that she says comes from that colonized mind. A continent that could feed the whole world can't even feed itself. I mean, that's not a failure of resources, right? It's a failure of something else. She gives a perfect example of this with the cocoa industry. Think about it. West African countries, they're the biggest producers of raw cocoa beans in the world. They make about $8 billion from it. But the global chocolate industry, using those exact same beans, is worth over $100 billion. The real money, the real value is being created somewhere else. And that right there is the real world cost. She puts it so simply. Every time a ship leaves port with raw materials, it's not just carrying minerals. It's carrying away high-paying jobs, industrial know-how, and a country's wealth. Africa gets left with the digging, while someone else gets the real prize. Okay, so if the problem is this colonized mind, this waiting for someone else to solve your problems, what's the solution? Well, she doesn't just point out the problem, she points to real-world examples of the answer.
And her biggest example is something she saw with her own eyes when she was in Addis Ababa. For her, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam isn't just a dam. It's like a giant concrete symbol of a decolonized mind at work.
And this is the part that just blew her mind. Ethiopia didn't sit around waiting for the World Bank or some foreign investors to show up. No, the government just
started. The Ethiopian diaspora around the world pitched in. And get this, regular people inside the country donated $1 at a time through text messages. They literally built their own future, $1, one text at a time.
She brings up the Ebola crisis, too. Remember that? While the world was kind of dragging its feet and making these terrifying predictions, she says the African Union just decided, nope, we're going to handle this. They got over 800 African health volunteers, got funding from African businesses, and went to fight the crisis themselves. It was Africans solving an African problem.
All right, so let's tie this all together. All these pieces, they build up to this one final, really powerful, and totally unapologetic vision for the future.
And she circles right back to where she started, with Thomas Sankara. His quote is so simple, but so powerful. Who feeds you controls you. It's not just about food, you see. It's about power. If you're dependent on someone else for your most basic needs, you can never truly be free.
And that's why she went. When you look at it this way, her trip to Burkina Faso wasn't just some political visit, it was a statement. She saw a movement that was trying to break those chains of economic dependency, and for her, that's a progressive revolution. And that's something she's willing to support.
She wraps it all up by coming back to that powerful idea from Steve Biko. The biggest fight, the real battlefield, it's not on the ground. It's in your mind. The real struggle for freedom is the struggle to believe in yourself, to have the courage to build your own dams and process your own cocoa.
And that leads to the final, really provocative thought she leaves us with. If decolonizing your mind is the weapon you need for true freedom, then who exactly is that weapon aimed at? Is it some outside force? Or is it maybe, and this is the tough part, is it aimed at the doubt inside ourselves?